Good morning. I normally do my stretches with my window open as I look out at the city getting their day started. Every morning before I even brush my teeth or wash my face, I get up and stretch. My physical therapist said to me, the one that I went to here, like your body is laying still for 7-8 hours, and when you wake up, as soon as you wake up, it's good to kind of like unrelease your body from this still position, and it's one of the most important times for you to stretch because you spent so much time sitting still, lying still. I've made so much progress in my body, and normally I do these videos and I have music or something playing, but just for the sake of explaining, I'll explain a lot of the areas that I'm targeting right now. It started with my back, like mainly here, these muscles, and I've probably said it before and I'll say it again. Once I put out what I thought were the biggest fires in my body, more of them started to pop up. The reason I actually started going to physical therapy in Tenerife is because I was feeling this tingling in my fingers, and I was like, I feel like this is not right. I went to several doctors who did scans and examinations, and they couldn't find anything wrong. But ultimately what it is just my body is layered with knots in my muscles, and I have to continuously work to release them, stretch them out. So my shoulders are a huge issue for me, and that has continued for like a year. It's continued, but it is progressing. Here as well, here on each side, my hips right in this groin area full of knots, probably from all the years of sitting behind a desk. And it's starting to go now into the hip, down the side of the leg. But what I notice is that some of these areas are bothering me less than they used to. No tingling in the fingers, so that's progress. What I do as far as stretching, so the reason why I do not sign up for a yoga class is because generally when you're doing yoga, you have your pose, you keep moving, and it just keeps going, and you pause and you have your time. But when I'm stretching, I don't stretch in a particular order every single time. I usually do the same exact stretches because they're the ones that work, but I also need to target the areas that are in pain. So last night, my head was doing a lot. Like I was massaging out a lot of stuff from my scalp. It sounds like crunching, like I'll have to find, well, I mean, it sounds like your bone's breaking. You heard the sound like someone cracking their neck, but it's different in the scalp. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten that far yet. That reminded me, another thing that I find interesting, and I feel like because in the United States, there's so much pain medicine, over-the-counter pain medicine, Advil, Tylenol, Motrin, 12-hour, 24-hour, gel, fast-acting. It's a lot, which to me, it sounds like maybe there's a lot of people in pain, like in physical pain, who are just addressing the symptoms in order to keep functioning, as opposed to trying to find the source and working that out of their body, whatever that source may be of their pain. And this is another thing that happens when I release stuff in my body. In Tenerife, especially, I noticed I would wake up and I would be like choking on mucus. Like there's mucus like in your nose and your sinuses. But then if you don't get it out of your body, you know, it goes into your digestive system and then it it needs to come out in some way. If you do a enema, that also gets rid of a lot of this stuff that's like backed up in your body. But what was happening is I would wake up and I would be choking on mucus. And as I've been dealing with my knots in my body, it not only releases mucus, I sneeze. If you take a yoga class, you also know it like releases a lot of gas from like which way, burping or farting. Yeah, there's so much in these knots that are like toxic inside my body. And so I know that something is going well when I get rid of some mucus. Good morning. All right. I'm just gonna start off here and then do the rest myself. This is a nice stretch. You can do this, and I'm suggesting this because my physical therapist did, while you're sitting at your desk. Like just look as far as you can to the side. I also like to loosen up the muscles here. I used to be very prude, and when I would get a massage and they'd try and touch my butt, I would get uncomfortable. But like, don't try to touch my butt. But your butt holds a lot of muscles and a lot of tension. I guarantee it. Especially this little part here. At least for me, that's where a lot of tension is held. Like this little ring, the hips. I love my hips. They work and they move so freely now. But this gives me so much trouble. What's a nice stretch that I have personally found? I basically just do this. I know. It's incredible. Very low impact. I believe if you want to call it yoga, you can call it soft yoga. Basically just getting myself to like crisscross my legs. And leaning into it. What I've also found is that when I'm massaging one or stretching one part of the body, I feel release in other parts of the body. So if I stretch here, I feel muscles, I hear and feel muscles popping here. Here. When I was in Ecuador, I met this energy healer who heals and removes pain from mostly men. He works mostly with men in Maine. He releases you from pain without touching your body. Energetically. Or Reiki healing. I've met a lot of people who were interested in or who were skilled in Reiki. You can remove tension and pain from your body energetically. If you are interested, this is a nice way to explore pain relief, pain release. I've had a lot of massages. I've been to a lot of physical therapists all over the world, and oftentimes like they don't go deep enough for my pain. I will say use as much pressure as you want, because my pain tolerance, like let's say your normal pain tolerance is like here. My average pain tolerance is here. So you have to add way more pressure to make an impact on the muscles that are bothering me. And then they do. Boop, 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 you. And then they're like, how do you feel? Do you feel better? Thank you so much for coming. It's well-meaning, but it's not effective. What this energy healer told me is to use the momentum of your body to really increase the stretch, increase the movement, increase the impact. So if you do something like this, but, ooh, you had to have heard that one. You can use the momentum of your body to bring a deeper stretch. Go. And it's not just her, it's here. So also if I massage something here or stretch something here, it's also gonna help me here. So let's get started on that. I hope you enjoyed this little morning stretch because I want us to be free to move around in our bodies. And I don't want us to be living with pain. Like, we deserve better quality of lives than that. Just popping pills in order to like keep going. All you gotta do is stretch in the morning, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how much pain you have. Boop. Oh gosh. When I went to physical therapy, the therapist would actually only work on like one muscle at a time. Like one knot, work on that, and then he would be like, that's enough. And there's a big one here. I'm working on several knots at one time, and it's intense, but it works. I just dusted. I haven't dusted in a really long time, and I only dusted the other side of the living room. This side, it's fine. It's all right for now. It's gonna be fine. I wanted to share a little bit about what I do at home, like more than I already have, like, which is what this whole thing has been about. But what I mean by that is my work. Earlier on in the vlog, I talked about work. I own my own company, Manita Tequila. It's about to celebrate its 1-year anniversary. I just shared on my Instagram and like hopefully Facebook about the party, which is going to be in New York. I'm organizing it from Spain. I am tired, but it also feels really surreal that I started this tequila business and it's available for people to drink, and it's like right here next to a picture of my mom, and it's been available for almost 1 year, like, and I don't plan to stop. Like, this is just the beginning. Even if I have to go slow and steady. My grandfather always says slow and steady wins the race. So I'm gonna go slow because I'm going, well, hey, not going at it alone. They say if you want to go fast, go at it alone. If you want to go far, go at it together. And it really does take a village. It takes a village for everything. It doesn't just take a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to function as a human being. And I have a village of people, even though, like,
I am doing a majority of the work for this brand myself. Like their support and their willingness to listen to me and to look at backdrops and give me their opinion, or look at some marketing materials and give me their opinion. Like every little bit has helped me get to this point. And I'm so grateful for the village that I have. And I was just listening to and watching my friend's new podcast, soon to be, while I was dusting. And they talked about how, especially in the United States, which is where I'm from, you don't have these mirrors, especially as a black woman. Especially as a black woman, you don't have these mirrors that reflect back to you the reality that you feel you see. Like you see the world in this way and it looks while this ambulance was passing, I was just thinking about like where I would like to live, because I will talk a little bit about that as well. I don't want to stay in Europe. I don't want to stay in Spain. And so, yeah, like as this ambulance was passing, because why speak while an ambulance is rearing its siren? Yeah, I just like envision recording this in a different environment with less noise. And I opened my laptop and I'm looking at my book that I'm writing because I wrote something. And the chapter that I'm on is An American Immigrant Abroad. Home is a big thing for me. If you listen to my podcast, it's all connected. If you listen to my podcast, there's something in there about this sense of home, finding it and feeling at home. Having your reality reflected back to you gives you a sense of home. Like this is a place where I feel validated. This is a place where I feel seen. This is a place where I feel encouraged to use my voice and to make change. But then when you are in places where your reality is denied, erased, ignored, excused, like my friend said, the title of her book, I don't know if it's going to be that, but it's Am I Crazy Or? Like, am I crazy or do I see something very clearly and you're trying to tell me that I don't see that thing very clearly, but it seems very clear to me. Like, it looks as if it looks like this and you're trying to tell me it doesn't look like that. And now, why would I want to exist in this environment? I would love actually to go back. My business is there. My community is there. And I feel the most comfortable there. It's not that I don't feel uncomfortable. That's going to happen anywhere. But living in Europe for the past 7 years, unless I have created that space inside my house, like it feels very uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable walking on the streets. It feels uncomfortable dating. It feels uncomfortable frequenting certain stores. Like, it just feels like I live in a state of discomfort. And I want peace. Like, I'm just trying to migrate my way towards peace. And so I've got some decisions to make. There's going to be a lot of changes. This last quarter of the year, it just started, right? But it's going to be a lot of change. I'm telling you that right now. And I'm trying to get ready for it. That's all I can do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do for my day job, because what my boss does, I feel like is very important. And so do a lot of the people who contribute to our website. So I work for the website called shepherd.com. And my boss is the one who created it. He runs it. He's a self-proclaimed book nerd. He loves books. He's reading like 5 or 6 books at one time in any given day of the year. And he was really frustrated with the way that Goodreads Goodreads was bought by Amazon, and then they just kind of let it decay. They didn't update it, they didn't invest in it, they just sort of mined the data from what Goodreads users and community have already created in order to just like propel their purpose of selling us everything all the time. And I was reading an article in the Washington Post about it, which is owned by Amazon owner. Like, yo, 5 people can't own everything. Like, I don't understand. So for my job, I work as an editor. This was a dream of mine. Hold on. Oh my God. I almost wish that I never massaged my scalp, because I was getting through stuff down here and then the scalp was like, guess what? You've uncovered a 1,000-year-old stone figure that you have to chisel down to get to your scalp. And I'm like, can you just go back to being numb and silent? Anywho, I work as an editor for the website Shepherd.com. And this was a dream job. Like, this is a job that I absolutely manifested. I said I wanted to be an editor. I said I wanted to be a writer. I moved to Berlin. I started writing. I started as an unpaid intern, moved my way up to a paid internship, and then I got full-time work. And when my final contract ended in Berlin, I decided to move to Tenerife. I wanted to work completely freelance. I worked for a children's book publishing company. I edited and I did a lot of other things. I did Bibles for TV series. I helped authors find illustrators for their children's books. I edited their children's books. And I wrote blogs for the website. So I did a lot. And now I'm working as an editor where authors submit a list with 5 books and it's centered around a theme. And usually that theme connects to the book that they've written. So they get to highlight and feature their book, but they also recommend 5 books under a certain theme or topic to interested readers. So for example, now we are doing this best books of the year list. So a select group of authors and experts submitted 3 of their favorite books that they've read this year. And then in November, on November 1st, there's going to be a big launch that my boss is going to do to highlight all of these books. And so reading about books all day has been like a free education for me. I'm learning about things that I never heard of before. I'm seeing what people like to talk about, what people are interested in. And I'm reading books from not only authors from the United States, but from the UK. All of the books on our website currently is in English, but there are authors from all over the world who write books in English. And so there's a lot of different topics. There's a lot of Native authors. There's a lot of Black authors that submit their book lists around certain themes. I got to read the book list of a man who was very close friends with Martin Luther King Jr., and I felt very honored to be speaking to this man, Clarence, through email. And then after that, like, that's it. Like, you know, some people, I recognize their name. I'm like, oh, fangirling, I've heard of this book before. And as the site grows, like, of course, there's going to be even more authors on here that will hopefully bring traffic to the website. So my boss was telling me for basically the entire year, the traffic to the site has been stagnant. And he said that there's some kind of holdup with Google, like showing his ads, because he's an SEO whiz, he's a tech nerd and a book nerd. And so he knows the stuff. This is why he's been able to grow the site so quickly, so fast, all on his own, another solo entrepreneur. But I believe Google is blocking his content because what he wants to be is a competitor to Goodreads. And even though Amazon bought Goodreads and let it die, or is letting it die, and it's also letting it have way too much influence over the publishing industry without that content and those opinions that can sway sales being verified. Like on Goodreads, you can submit a review of a book, put 1 star, and you never even read the book. The author who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, she canceled the publication or postponed the publication of her book because on Goodreads it was review bombed with a bunch of negative reviews because people didn't like the content of the book. And so my boss would like to have an alternative to Goodreads that provides people with books that they are interested in reading about. Unfortunately, Amazon is the conglomerate selling everything. And so we do sell books through Amazon, but we also offer the alternative to do bookshop.org, which supports local and small bookshops. And I have bookmarked myself dozens and dozens. I think on my phone I have like 100 books. And then on my computer I have completely different books. A lot of the books that I've purchased have been books that I've read about and that have been recommended. I bought, where did I put his book? Well, I'll show you some of the books I've been recommended to read. Okay. So, speaking of books, I would like to share first about my 2 books. This was my first book that I ever wrote. I self-published this in 2015. Yes, 2015. Martinique Lewis did the cover design. More Than Crumbs is the name of the book. And then this is my second book that I published right before the pandemic. I wrote this book while I was in Germany. It took me a really long time to write it because I started this story before my mom passed away. But it did get finished, so I'm proud. And speaking of Martinique Lewis, this is one of my best friends, and she created this travel green book. It also has an app now that you can download, and it's essentially a guide for the United States and cities, towns, countries all over the world that provides Black-owned businesses that you can support. So these are just a few of the books that I purchased myself after reading dozens upon dozens. Not all of them. Some of them I only took 1. But the way that certain authors write about books, like I'll read about the book, like some books are very frequently recommended. 1984, which I haven't read yet. Fahrenheit 451, the Harry Potter books, lots of books. Like the number 1 topic, quantity-wise, of books that we have on our website is about war. People love war. If you combine war, World War I, and World War II, which are like the categories broken up, it's a huge chunk of our website. Lots of people love to talk about war and military and whatever. But I don't want to read about that, at least not right now. So this, huge book. Look at all the winners on the back. I've heard so much about it and I have not read it. I will. I'm going to get to it. This is an author who submitted a list to our website, and I love the way that he wrote about other books. So I wanted to read his book, and I have not read it yet. This is Jazz by Toni Morrison. This one, I recently read a list about this. I've had this book for a few months now. I'm going to get to it. Don't you fret. I would like to finish rereading All About Love, because that's the book that I'm currently reading. It's by my bedside. I have maybe like 3 books right now that I have started and I'm continuing to read in alternation. I really want to start this. Like, I feel like this, because I read Narrative of a Slave. I started reading Up From Slavery, but I left it because my grandfather asked me to in Maryland. And I think this would be a really nice book to follow up those with. So this I was not into sci-fi. Sci-fi is also another big genre on the website. However, I kept reading recommendations for several books by Octavia E. Butler, and this inspired me to start writing. Like, I started reading this book, I think, at the beginning of the year because my friend was also reading an Octavia E. Butler book. Not this one, but a different one. And I started reading it at the beginning of the year, and then I went to Ecuador. And the page that I left off on was like the perfect page for me to start reading as soon as I got back from Ecuador. This book is incredible. I can't wait to see the way that it will change my life. And this is also a book that I discovered. This tells the story of Native Americans and the myth of scientific fact. I did start reading it. I have my bookmark here. I did start, but it's definitely like a heavier book. It's not necessarily a light read. You really got to pay attention. But books not only have the ability to educate and inform, but they have the ability to change people's lives. When people read books, they go into a world where they not only discover new things by reading the story of the character, but they can relate that content back to themselves, which is why books are so important. And so many books in the United States and surely all over the world are being banned, and they're being kept from the public to easily access. Luckily, there are some bookstores that I have heard about that will allow you to take out a banned book at any place as long as you have a membership with their library. They're doing that in a lot of different places. But what my boss is doing with this website also provides a way for people to access books that they maybe never would have even heard of if it were not for this website. So that's what I do for work. And I think it's pretty important. And I recently shared that I asked my boss for a raise. He doesn't have the money because of this whole blockage of traffic to the website, which is fair. Like, I am a small business owner, and I know if you don't got it, you don't got it. Like, you can't just pull it from somewhere else. So I'm gonna stick beside him, and I'm gonna keep doing my job because November is the lead up to the Best Books of the Year launch on November 1st. But I definitely need more money. So I would like to go ahead and throw that out into the universe. I have some leads on what I would like to do. It's just about taking the steps towards, bringing those opportunities to me. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to work. This is what I love about my job. Like, my boss is not checking for me at any point in the day. If I respond to him a couple hours later, I got back to him, and he responds to me a couple hours later. He took a 70% holiday this summer, and that's the kind of life that I want to live every day. So I got to work my way towards that, and it starts by getting back to work. Thank you so much, and feel free to ask me any questions. Check out the website. Please buy a book. Please shop small. If you see a book on the website, bookmark it on your phone and go to your local bookshop and see if they have it and buy it there. It doesn't have to necessarily be a purchase through our website, but then if you do choose to go to our website and support my boss's business, click on bookshop.org if the book is available there instead of Amazon. Please. Come. 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 Bella, come. Come. Come.